Thank you so much for staying with us. The Governor of Ekiti State, Mr. Ayodele Fayose, has suspended the Permanent Secretary of the State Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development and 3 other high-ranking officers for incompetence. The Governor took this decision after inspecting some government-owned farmlands in Ado-Ekiti, the state capital, where he expressed shock at the poor management of the facility.
What are we paying for? Most of these things had failed. And people using these facilities are using and not paying regularly. So what is the monitor about? So they are not only going to be the people to be suspended. The permanent secretary too is suspended. There's going to be a panel of inquiry to investigate their activities. And anybody found wanting will pay for it. Government business must not be run as if I don't care. Yes, we pay your salary. You must equally give us value for money. I mean every word that I'm saying. I'm not happy with the situation here. And the people using this facility, if they don't pay this time tomorrow, they'll be out of here. We cannot continue to leave these facilities in ruins. So where are we going when we say we want a revolution in agriculture? The people will depend on us, engine room of government. They're not living to expectation.
Governor of Ekiti State, Ayodele Fayose. The United Nations Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO, says there is a need to speed up economic recovery and has asked the federal government to increase the operational capacity for local manufacturers. UNIDO's regional director made the call in Makurdi, the Benue State capital, during a retreat for officials of the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment.
Senior staff of the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment are in Makurdi, the Benue State capital, for a management retreat organized by the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO. Benue State, being the host state, was represented by the Commissioner for Trade and Investment, who lists key areas being developed by the autumn administration to diversify the state's economy.
Currently, we're in partnership training about 500 Benue youths with the Industrial Training Fund.
The special advisor to the president on economic matters shares a few tips on what it means to have an economic recovery plan.
If you make it easier for people to travel into the country, then an investor arrives, he's welcome at the airport, processes are smooth, he gets a good impression of the nation. But more importantly, every transaction he tries to do is transparent, is quick, is effective, he can register his business in time, he gets a good impression about the country. So if you add that to the fact that if he then realizes that my costs are going to go down because the infrastructure is first class, the roads are good, there's real way to move my goods, power has improved substantially, he says I can do business here because I can make savings.
There are many other roads that can lead to rapid recovery and growth, as suggested by the regional director of the United Nations Industrial Development Organization.
What we have to do is also to attract the local investment to invest in the country, because that's the foundation of the economy. And then if we can create alliances between the local investors and the foreign investors, I think then our economic environment is going to be in a better position.
The Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment says good, workable ideas are always welcome, but he's quick to point out that key government policies in the area of foreign exchange are already yielding positive results.
I believe that as we continue to implement the economic recovery and growth plan, we will restore investor confidence, which will in turn restore foreign exchange supply and will ultimately then also support, increase value added and manufacturing in Nigeria. So the plan is a very coherent one.
It was agreed at this retreat that there's a need for more interagency collaborations, which will ensure less dependency on crude oil to sustain the economic growth and keep the country out of recession.
From Benue, let's move to Adamawa State now, where the Commissioner for Health has put the mortality figure in the state at 885 per 100,000 persons, which makes it the highest in the country. With this figure, Dr. Fatima Atiku Abubakar says there is a need to take drastic action that will bring the number down.
Adamawa State in northeastern Nigeria is known to have a mortality rate of 885 per 100,000 from all ailments, the highest in the country, as against the national mortality rate of about 576 per 100,000 persons. These figures were released by the State Commissioner for Health, Dr. Fatima Atiku Abubakar, during a program to educate healthcare service providers on the need to promote healthier living amongst residents. The meeting, in collaboration with the EU and UNICEF, is aimed at developing a strategy to lower the state's mortality rate below the national level.
When we sit together here and agree, then we now decide how it is going to be disseminated to the grassroots. And disseminating to the grassroots, would involve even converting to our local language, so that the people at the community level are able to understand that, look, they have a right to expect a certain degree of confidentiality of service provision from their service provider. And the service provider is under compulsion to provide certain forms of service to the client.
Participants stressed the importance of adapting the National Health Policy of the federal government.
But with this National Health Act, there are a lot of commitments from the federal that is now being translated to the state and local governments, and we are working to find all those linkages and strengthen those linkages between the local government, state and the federal government. And particularly when the National Health Act announced with the National Health Policy is providing the guidelines on how this relationship will be strengthened.
It's not going to be exactly like it is the National Health Policy is. We're going to domesticate it, looking at our own context. So definitely it means that our people that are in dire need of health interventions in the communities will not have to struggle the way they are struggling before to access health services. It means more access to health services. It means more quality service delivery.
The National Health Act 2014 provides a framework to regulate, develop, and manage the national health care system. It sets standards for the overall health system of the Federation and the responsibilities of the constituent units of the health sector.
Let's cross over to the business world, where things appear to be looking up. Millicent Walker tells us more. Welcome to Business News. The recent improvements in economic growth across Asia and Africa is expected to spur oil prices in 2018 and beyond. Confirming this projection to Channels Television in Lagos, the group CEO of Orando PLC, Mr. Wale Tinubu, says the default in reserves of oil-producing countries is one of the many factors that will shore up oil prices.
You start a well, you're producing 100%, it will decline naturally until it gets to zero over a period of time, except you reinvest in the field by drilling additional wells. Unfortunately, the last 3 years has seen a substantial reduction in capital investment. So the reserve replacement ratio has fallen, which basically means that you will find less supply to deal with growth in the market. And there's approximately about 1 million barrels of growth coming from Asia and Africa, surprisingly, because there's economic growth. So more and more people are acquiring cars. There's an increase in the middle class, and we will see tightening. And I'm bullish on the oil price from 2018, 2019. You will see a price rise, even if the United States continues to increase its shale production. It's simply not enough to compensate for the lack of investment that has occurred in the last 3 years, and we will see prices going up.
At the fixed income market, the bond space saw the debt management office rising 110 billion naira at Wednesday's primary market auction. The secondary market closed bullish, albeit marginally, with average yield dropping 1 basis point to close at 16.82% in the week. Dealers expect demand to persist in the coming week amid attractive yields. Overnight lending rate rose sharply at the interbank market to 29.5% on Friday, up from 19% last week after the central bank sold treasury bills to soak up liquidity from the banking system. Traders say the central bank sold about 17 billion naira worth of open market operations paper on Friday. Well, northward, that's what dealers expect the overnight rate to move in the coming week, driven by sales of T-bills in the primary auction, debit for FX sales, and further OMO auctions targeted at maturing. And it was a record-breaking week at the equities market this week as the all-share index defied dealers' expectations. Well, both posting the largest singular gain of 3.18% since 15th of June 2016. It set a 9-month high at 28,423.70 points. It also advanced in the last 10 trading sessions, extending gains to the third straight week. The market capitalization closed at 9.7 trillion naira. Analysts attribute this week's record gain to demand for blue chips across the board, most notably the banking and consumer goods. Total volume traded increased by 128.08% to 3.26 billion shares, with Ebion Holdings, FCMB and Zenith Bank accounting for 43.59% of the market volume. The value of trades also increased to 28.74 billion naira in over 25,000 deals. Market breadth was positive, with 56 gainers as against 11 losers. And that's business news tonight. Many thanks for watching. I'm Millicent Nwaka. It's back to Melinda with the rest of the news. Many thanks, Millicent. Activities marking the 50th anniversary of Lagos State continue today with the Community Day and Carnivals. The event, which is held in 20 locations across the state, was to celebrate the diversity and peaceful coexistence among communities, as well as their contributions to the growth of the state. Lagos Carnival brings on board a grand street party to the Lagos at 50 celebrations, with the Community Day taking place simultaneously at various venues. Governor Akinwumi Ambode joins the fanfare at Ifeludu Ajeromi local government area. Games, dance and musical performances are major features at this venue. The governor hails the contribution of the grassroots to the achievement recorded by the state over the past 50 years.
We are all united by the great citizenship that residing in Lagos State confers. I thank you for shouldering the responsibilities of the good citizen of Lagos State. The citizen who is registered as a resident, who pays taxes, who obeys our laws, supports our policies, protects our projects, and comes to the rescue of his neighbor in danger.
The carnival is more elaborate at the Tafabelewa Square, one of the designated venues.
Thank you. Thank you, horse riders.
The parade consists of over 50 communities and cultures, caught across Lagos and from inside and outside the country. Beyond the parade, there's also a display of colors and youthful skills.
It is not just about the Yorubas, it is not just about the Aworis, it's not just about the Egun. Today shows the true essence of Lagos, that yes, its roots are Yoruba, its roots are Southwest, but its arms, encompass the entire country.
As Lagosians bask in the celebration of the state's Golden Jubilee, the government promises to continue its strategy of inclusive governance by extending development to the grassroots. Still ahead on the news at 10, Rafael Nadal ends 7-game losing streak against Novak Djokovic with a cruising 6-2, 6-4 win at the Madrid Open. That's on Sports News. Stay with us.